Hello Year 3, welcome to your next English lesson. Before we begin, let's just check if we've got all of these things here. So let's check if we've got our English book, a sharp pencil, a ruler and a rubber. Pause the video if you need to get anything now. Okay, right, let's move on. So today we're going to be doing our final plot point 4. Before we carry on though, let's write the date and learning objective in our book. And then with our ruler, I would like you just to draw a line across the middle of your page. Remember, we need a blank page for each of these lessons. A nice straight line across the middle of your page. And then that's going to have the top half as our inspiration station. And then the bottom half can be our sentence writing. Before we watch the clip, let's just have a look at these symbols because these are going to tell us what's going to be in each chunk today. So in chunk 1, we're going to be writing some complex sentences, and we're also going to be using some adverbs and adverbial phrases. In chunk 2, we're going to also be using some onomatopoeia. So have a think and try to remember what onomatopoeia means. And the words which are onomatopoeia. In chunk 3, we're going to be writing some more complex sentences, as well as describing what you can notice or what you can see, hence the eyes. Okay? Right, before we look at our plot point, let's have a look at the video again. So bear with me whilst I just share my screen with you. Go. You should be able to see that now. So we're just going to watch it from the start all the way to the end. Pay extra attention to the final bit where the ants form into a ball and then go into the anteater's mouth, because that's going to be what we're going to be writing about today. So have an extra look at that, and then we can. Okay, right. Give me 1 second just to get back to my slides. Brilliant. So before we go to our first chunk, let's have a look at our plot point chart. So turn to this in your book, wherever it is, and we're going to look at this final plot point today. We've done these first 3. We're going to be looking at this last one. Teamwork saves the day. Okay, and this is going to be we're going to firstly going to be talking about the ball and how it started to roll, and talking and describing about how it flies into the anteater's mouth, and then the anteater almost passing out, almost fainting because it can't breathe. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So to start with, teamwork saves the day. The ants save their friends. Do you reckon that is a positive part of their day? Ooh, a positive part of their day, should I say, or a negative part of their day? And how positive or how negative? Remember that they just saved their friend from being eaten. Okay, right, so pause the video and put a cross where you think is most suitable. Okay, right, so I'm going to quickly draw a cross where I think is most suitable for it, where I think best represents how happy or sad they were. And I think it's going to be a positive thing because they've just saved their friend from getting eaten, and I'm sure they're very happy about that as an ant. So I reckon I'm going to put it as a +4 because it's a pretty happy moment in their day. I'm sure I can imagine there's a lot of relief that their friend hasn't been eaten. They might have had a happier point of their day. I'm sure they've collected a lot of nice food, but then that's quite a relieving part of their day as well. Okay, so I'm going to put it as a +4. Don't worry about if you put it as a +5, that's fine. Or any in the positive, it doesn't matter about where you put it, but I think you should have had it in your positive area, your positive intent rather than negative intent. Okay, Now we've got our crosses written on our plot point graph, we'll move on. So chunk 1. Like I said before, we are going to be writing complex sentences and using adverbs, or adverbial phrases. So to start with, because we're writing a complex sentence, we're going to need a subordinating conjunction to introduce a subordinating clause in our sentence. So I've got an example here, as. Quite a simple word, but I feel like that's quite a nice word for this bit of writing. So I'd like you just to pause the video and come up with a few more subordinating conjunctions yourself. So do that now. Okay, right. You should have had a few subordinating conjunctions written down by now. Here's a few more that I've thought of, which I think would suit this bit of text quite well, or this bit of writing quite well, sorry. So I've got as, like I said, while is quite a nice one, after, when, once, and until. Okay, so if you want to take a few of mine off this wall, that's absolutely fine. You can take 1 or 2, depending on how many complex sentences you want to write. Once you've done that, let's just have a look at the second part now. So describe the queen ant's thinking. So we're going to be thinking of some adjectives now, aren't we? Some words ending in ly. So cleverly is one that I'm thinking of because it's describing how the ant's thinking. The queen ant's thinking cleverly. So I would like you just to come up with a few more words like this ending in ly. And then we can go through some more after you've done that. So pause the video now and come up with a few more. Super. Right, let's go through some more words that I've got. It's totally fine if you've got some slightly different words. We all want our writing to be as individual and as unique as possible. So I've got cleverly, thoughtfully, cunningly. I like that word. Cunningly it means that the ant's been very clever, been very sneaky about the way that she's been thinking about her and about her plan. Quickly is another nice one. She got all the ants in formation very quickly, didn't she? Into that ball shape. And readily as well, which is similar to quickly. So take a few of those if you want. Take 1 or 2, that's fine. Brilliant if you got your own. That's absolutely fantastic if you got your own. You feel more than free to use your own words. Okay. Brilliant. So next, I'm just going to model this first chunk. Okay, just so we can get an idea of what we're going to be writing for this part. Let me just quickly set up my text so it's all ready. Get a bit smaller. There we go. So I'm going to start off with one of my subordinating conjunctions. Actually, I'm going to use as because I feel like although it's quite simple, I feel like it'll work well in this sentence. So as the queen bee, not queen bee, the queen ant, sorry, had, I'm going to use my my adverb now. As the queen bee had, I'm going to use cleverly. Had cleverly anticipated. I'm just checking if I've got my spelling right. Anticipated. There we go. It's quite a long word to spell. So as the queen ant had cleverly anticipated. Anticipated means almost looking into the future, predicting what's going to happen. The sphere, which is ball, as in the ball of ants, the sphere began to roll closer towards. Now I could use anteater, but I'm trying to think if there's a slightly better way of describing the anteater. I think a good way we can describe it is towards the sucking giant, because that's almost what it looks like to an ant, isn't it? It's trying to suck them up, and it's absolutely massive compared to them. So sucking giant could be a nice way to describe the anteater. Fantastic. Full stop. I think that's a really nice first paragraph, or first sentence, sorry. So as the queen ant had cleverly anticipated, the sphere began to roll closer towards the sucking giant. I'm going to quickly highlight in blue just the subordinating conjunction that I used, so as, and I'm going to highlight in yellow the adjective that I used, which is cleverly. Okay, brilliant. Right, so now it's your go to write your first chunk. Okay, so use the words that I've got here, use some words that you may have written in your inspiration station, and then if you want to deepen the moment, maybe try to use a simile to describe the formation of ants. Okay, so pause the video now, write your first chunk, and then we can move on to chunk 2. Okay, right. Let's move on to chunk 2 then. So this is a bit more of a bit of a fun one now. We are going to be coming up with a few onomatopoeia words to describe the sound, of the sphere blocking the mouth of the anteater. Okay, so to help us with this, I was going to play the really small clip of the anteater sucking the ball of ants up, just so we can hear the sound. So bear with me whilst I just change my screen. We just need to get YouTube up again. I can find it. There we go. Right, so I need to change it to the correct time so we know what to listen out to. Okay, right. So very short clip. So I'll play it once or twice just to just so we can really get an idea of what the sound was like. Okay, so keep your ears out for this now. Okay, we'll play that again because it was quite quick, wasn't it? Bit further back. Ready? I'm going to play it again. Okay, right. That should have given us a slight idea of what the sound was like. Let me just change back to my slides again. Okay, right. I'm going to give you one that I thought of, which was vroom, because I thought the anteater almost made the same sound as a vacuum or a vacuum cleaner. Oh, sorry, 1 second, my screen's just gone off. There we go. So a vacuum, yes, it's made it almost sounds a bit like a vacuum, doesn't it? Say if you've got your vacuum, you've sucked up something too big, it normally makes that sound, doesn't it? So that's just one example. Using that video, try to remember what it sounds like. See if you can think of any more onomatopoeia words which we could use. So pause the video and give that a go now. Okay, right. Let's go for a few more. I haven't got many actually, but I feel like these 3 are the ones that I could find which really works for this sound. So room, like I said before, it reminds me a bit like a vacuum cleaner. Slurp, because it reminded me almost of the anteater having a big straw for a nose or a straw for a mouth. That's normally the sound that a straw makes when you're sucking things up. And finally, whoosh, because I thought that was quite nice. That was quite a nice word to describe how the ants were traveling through the air, and then suddenly it just hits its mouth like that. So that could be another word which we could use to describe the sound. Okay, fantastic. If you've got some other ones as well, brilliant. Use them if you feel confident about talking about them. If you need some more, feel free to use one of the 3 or 2 of the 3 that I've got here. Right, I'm going to model this second part now for us. So, watching my screen again. It's a slightly shorter sentence because we're only just describing we're just describing the ball hitting the anteater's mouth, basically. And to start this, I want to talk about the ball speeding up slowly because it started on the ground still, didn't it? And it slowly shot into its mouth. So I'm going to talk about how it moved, how it accelerated, how it got quicker. So I'm gonna start with faster and faster it rolled until ... for extra suspense. Vroom. Vroom. You see, I use my onomatopoeia sound then just to describe it hitting the mouth. Okay, and then I'm gonna put an exclamation mark as well just to show the sound was quite loud. Okay, So faster and faster it rolled until whoom. Fantastic. Right, I'm going to highlight in green, if I can. Yeah, the onomatopoeia word. Great. So, right, it's your turn now to write this second chunk. Remember, we're describing the ball rolling off the ground and then getting sucked into the anteater's mouth with our onomatopoeia word as well. If you want to, if you want to deepen the moment, describe the look of shock on the giant's face. Remember, the giant, his eyes were very wide and his face went all red, didn't he? It's almost like quite surprised that it happened. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at writing your second chunk now. Okay, right, let's move on to chunk 3 then. Final chunk for today. Oh, I've got some words uncovered, which should be there. Ignore them, they weren't there before. Right, so in this last chunk, we are again going to be writing some complex sentences, and we're going to describe what things we're going to be. Well, let me check quickly what this is. You probably know it better than me, actually. Oh, we're going to describe what we can notice. Okay. Ooh, go back to the right slide. Yeah, we can describe what we can notice. Okay. So to start with, I would like us to come up with some words to describe the giant's mouth, or the anteater's mouth. Okay. And I just thought of one here, mighty, which is quite a nice one. I thought it's quite to the ants anyway. It's very strong, it's very big, it's very powerful. And that's quite a nice word to sum all of those up. Right, so pause the video and come up with some more words to describe the giant's mouth, please. Okay, right, let's go through some more words then. You should have a few down now. So I've got a few more here if you want some extra inspiration. So again, like I said, mighty was a good one. Enormous, which sort of it describes the size of it, I guess, doesn't it? Same with colossal, which is similar to enormous. They're both big, which both means very, very big. Mammoth as well means very, very big. Just like if you know what a mammoth, the mammoth animal looks like, it's very, very large. Okay. So the mammoth, a mammoth mouth, you could almost say, powerful and terrifying, almost like it's quite scary to the ants. This big mouth that could suck them up at any time. Okay, so there are a few more if you want to take some of those. Right, next bit then. Simple sentence. We're going to think of a simple sentence to describe what happens to the giants at the end. So if you remember, the ball gets stuck in its mouth and then he can't breathe, can he? So he almost faints. So I've given an example here as a really simple sentence. Remember, for a simple sentence, we only want one clause. So my example here is he toppled over. Okay, very simple. He toppled over. Let's see if we can think of some more simple sentences to write ourselves. So pause the video and have a go now. Right then, I've got a few more example sentences just in case you didn't have many written down. So firstly, he ploughed into the dirt. Plough means hit it with a lot of force. He ploughed into the dirt because it's obviously quite a heavy animal. That's quite a nice one. He crashed to the floor. That's just another nice way of saying that he toppled over. Okay, and it's good to include simple sentences like this in our writing, especially in year 3 when we start to use a lot more complex sentences and compound sentences, because it really makes your writing quite effective when you have a really simple sentence in between two complex sentences or two longer sentences, because it adds effect, because it's just telling it very straight how it is, but it also makes it sound really effective. Okay, so that's what we want to try to include in our last chunk as well. It's a nice simple sentence to add some effect. Okay, right. Now we've got all of these words and sentences in our inspiration station. I'm just going to write the final chunk for today. This one's going to be slightly longer. There's going to be a few sentences, but it's all going to make sense at the end, okay? So follow along with me when I'm writing. New sentence, of course. We're going to need a capital letter. And I think this sentence I'm going to talk about how the sphere hits the mouth, how it hits the mouth of the anteater, and how it blocks it as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with the sphere. I can spell it right. The sphere had blocked the giant. I'm going to call him a giant again, just so it stays with that theme. Giants. Remember, it's an apostrophe because the giant owns its mouth. The giant's mouth. The sphere had blocked the giant's mouth. Ooh. Before we put mouth, we can include. Let's include a word to describe his mouth. I'm gonna have a look back quickly. Oh, wrong bit. Can't find it now. There we go. Words to describe the giant's mouth. I'm gonna go with the top one actually. I'm gonna go with mighty. The giant's mighty mouth. This is why I'm going to include my short sentence now. Let's have a look. So, he toppled over, he plans for the day, crashed to the floor. I'm going to use the top one again. He toppled over. So, new sentence, capital letter. He toppled over. Full stop. Can you see how that sits really nicely in some longer sentences? Really makes it look really. It looks really effective, even though it's a really simple sentence. And then I'm trying to think of a good sentence to finish this all off now, because he's toppled over. And then let's think about our theme. Let's think about the theme of teamwork, which runs through this whole video. I'm going to start with teamwork. Teamwork had saved the day. That's the theme which runs through this video, isn't it? It's really effective teamwork. So let's read that final chunk out quickly. The sphere had blocked the giant's mighty mouth. He toppled over. Teamwork had saved the day. Fantastic. I'm going to quickly highlight which colours I'm going to use? Orange. I'm going to quickly highlight that short sentence just so you can see where it stands out in the other paragraphs. Okay, it really doesn't have to be long at all, that sentence. Okay, right, you'll go now to write your final chunk. So pause the video, write it. If you want to deepen the moment, let me just get the slide back up. If you want to deepen the moment, look back at your whole write and just see if you can edit any mistakes you can find, spelling errors. See if you can improve parts of it if you want, and do that. So once you finish writing that final chunk, it would be amazing if some of you could, or if all of you could, video you reading your whole story out and putting it on Dojo, because me and Miss Kitchen would love to see some of those. Yeah, so after you've finished writing your final chunk, edit it and film yourself reading it, put it on Dojo, and then hopefully we could do some sharing of them at some point. Fantastic. So that's it for me today. Get writing, get editing, and I'll see you in our next English or Maths lesson.